I told you one of Europe's most beautiful cities feels like a real-life movie set? Welcome to Dubrovnik, where ancient walls, breathtaking sea views, and unforgettable food come together in one incredible trip. In the next 3 days, you'll explore the best of the city and get insider tips that can make your trip even more unforgettable. This is the ultimate 3-day Dubrovnik itinerary. Let's dive in. Day 1. Old Town Highlights. Morning. Walk Dubrovnik Old Town. There's nothing quite like having the Old Town all to yourself before the rest of the world decides to show up. We're kicking things off by slipping through the Pile Gate to catch the city in that perfect, quiet morning light. You'll step straight onto the Stradun, a limestone artery stretching 300 meters or 984 feet through the heart of the fortress. The stone here's been polished so smooth by centuries of footsteps that it actually glows like a mirror in the early sun. Right as you enter, you'll hit Unfrio's large fountain. This massive stone hub has been part of the city's plumbing since the 1400s, and it's still going strong today. Take a slow wander down toward the Rector's Palace to check out those heavy Gothic arches and Renaissance carvings, while the square is still dead quiet. Exploring these streets costs exactly $0, and it's easily the best way to soak in the massive history of the place before the ticketed gates even think about opening. Insider tip. Don't be the person dropping $5 on a plastic water bottle at the kiosk. Those stone masks on the fountains are spitting out perfectly cold, drinkable spring water for free, so fill your bottle up right there and save your cash for a better coffee later. Franciscan Monastery. Duck off the Stradun and into the Franciscan Monastery to see where this city's been getting its meds since 1317. This place houses one of the oldest functioning pharmacies on the planet, and you can still check out the 14th century mortars and hand-painted jars they used to mix up remedies. It's a 30-minute look at the medieval science that kept people alive through the plagues and wars that battered these walls. The Romanesque cloister is the standout, built around 1360 with rows of double-arched columns wrapping around a central courtyard. It's a complete shift from the limestone streets outside, featuring ancient carvings and architecture that survived the massive 1667 earthquake. The doors open at 9 a.m., and entry will run you €6, which is about $6.50, though it's included if you have the Dubrovnik Pass. Insider tip. Head toward the modern pharmacy shop attached to the museum and grab a jar of their rose water or the face cream. They're still using the original 14th century recipe with local herbs, which is a much better use of $10 than any of the mass-produced junk in the souvenir stalls. Walk the walls of Dubrovnik. Can you even say you've been to Dubrovnik if you haven't stopped at the top of the world-famous city walls? This is the undisputed main event of any trip here, a 2-kilometer or 1.2-mile limestone loop that wraps around the entire old town and puts you right above the action. Scaling these massive stone ramparts is a bit of a workout, but the payoff is a bird's-eye view of those iconic terracotta rooftops clashing against the deep blue Adriatic. The fortifications climb as high as 25 meters or 82 feet, so you're basically walking through centuries of history while looking down on the rest of the world. The full circuit takes about 2 hours, and you'll eventually hit the Minchetta Tower, which is the highest point of the fortress and the best spot to see the sheer scale of the masonry. It's a steep $38 to get up the ramparts, but it's the one ticket in the town that's absolutely worth the price for the perspective you get. If you have the Dubrovnik Pass, just scan it at the Pile Gate entrance and head straight up. Insider tip. Most people grind out the full circle even when the heat starts to bite, but keep your eyes peeled for the exit near the Maritime Museum. It lets you bail out right at the old port, which is perfect if you want to skip the final uphill stretch and head straight for a cold drink by the water instead. Late morning, Rector's Palace. How about a look at where the real power was held back when this place was the Republic of Ragusa? Head back into the heart of the old town to the Rector's Palace, which served as the seat of government and the home of the Rector during his strictly regulated 1-month term. The building is a massive architectural flex, blending Gothic and Renaissance styles into a stone structure that has survived explosions and earthquakes alike. The inner courtyard is a standout here, featuring stone arches and a grand staircase that looks like it belonged in a period drama. Inside, you'll find a collection of period furniture, portraits, and historic documents that show exactly how the city's elite ran the show centuries ago. It takes about 45 minutes to walk through, and entry will cost you $16, though it's another spot that's completely covered by your Dubrovnik pass. Dubrovnik Cathedral. Right around the corner from the Rector's Palace stands the Dubrovnik Cathedral, a high-drama Baroque masterpiece built after the original was flattened by the 1667 earthquake. Legend has it that Richard the Lionheart funded the first version as a thank you for surviving a shipwreck nearby. The main hall is free to enter, and you'll find a massive Titian painting hanging right behind the altar that survived centuries of chaos. The real draw's the treasury in the back, which houses the gold-plated remains of Saint Blaise, the city's patron saint. You can see his skull, arm, and leg encased in intricate gold and silver. Entry to the treasury is just $4, and it's a quick 15-minute stop that shows off the insane wealth this city used to hoard. Insider tip: check out the Our Lady of the Port altar to see the coral jewelry left by sailors' families. It was their way of praying for a safe return, and it's a cool local detail that most people walk right past while looking at the big gold displays. Afternoon, Sponza Palace. Just a few steps from the cathedral, you'll find the Sponza Palace, one of the only buildings that didn't crumble during the massive 1667 earthquake. This place was the Swiss Army knife of the Republic. It served as a customs house, mint, armory, and even a school. Because it stayed standing, you're looking at an original 16th century Renaissance and Gothic arches that give you a perfect idea of what the rest of the city looked like before the disaster. The courtyard is free to enter, but the real weight of the place is the memorial room of the Dubrovnik defenders. It's a somber, powerful space dedicated to the locals who died during the siege of Dubrovnik in the 90s, featuring photos and stories that bring the city's more recent history into sharp focus. Entry to the memorial room is free, though a full ticket for the state archives upstairs, if they're open to the public, usually runs about $5. Lunch at Gradska Kavana Arsenal. Hungry? Head over to the Old Port for lunch at Gradska Kavana Arsenal. This place is built into the arches of the city's old shipyard, so you can eat while looking right out over the bobbing boats in the harbor. It's one of the most iconic spots in town, and while it feels high-end, the light lunch menu keeps things from getting too crazy if you just want a solid meal without a 3-course commitment. For a fresh, light pick that's perfect when it's hot out, go for the octopus salad or the cuttlefish and potato puree. If you're not feeling seafood, their steak sandwich with caramelized onions and French fries is a heavy hitter that never misses. Expect to spend around $30 to $40 per person for a main dish and a drink. Dubrovnik West Harbor. Ready for a view that looks like it was pulled straight out of a movie set? Once you've finished lunch, head back through the city and out the Pile Gate to the West Harbor, also known as Pile Bay. If this spot looks familiar, it's because it basically lived on your TV screen for a decade. It served as Blackwater Bay in Game of Thrones. This little cove is tucked right between the massive city walls and the towering St. Lawrence Fortress, giving you one of the most cinematic views in the entire city. It's the perfect place to hang out for a few minutes and watch the kayaks launch into the clear water while you get a completely different perspective of those limestone walls you were standing on earlier. You aren't just looking at the harbor, you're looking at the same gateway that's welcomed travelers and protected the city from naval invasions for hundreds of years. Fort Lovrienitz. From the harbor, it's time to tackle the stairs up to Fort Lovrienitz. Perched on a 37-meter cliff, this Gibraltar of Dubrovnik was built to show invaders, specifically the Venetians, that this city wasn't moving for anyone. Above the door, the Latin motto warns that freedom isn't sold for all the gold in the world. Inside, you'll find massive stone terraces and old cannons, but the real draw is the view looking back. You get a perfect cinematic angle of the city's walls jutting out over the cliffs that you just can't get from inside the town. It's a $15 climb, but here's the best part. If you've already bought a ticket for the city walls earlier, entry here is free. Just show your pass and walk right in. Late afternoon, Mount Surge. For the ultimate perspective of Dubrovnik, head 412 meters up to the summit of Mount Surge. This is the spot where the entire old town shrinks into a perfect miniature model surrounded by the deep blue Adriatic. To get up there, zip to the top in the cable car in under 4 minutes for $30 round trip, or tackle the zigzagging stone hike, which takes about 60 to 75 minutes. If you choose to hike, the trail starts just above the town and is completely exposed to the sun, so bring water and prepare for a workout. Once you hit the top, you'll find the Imperial Fortress and a massive stone cross, but the real draw is the panoramic view of the orange rooftops and the island of Lokrum. It's the highest point in the area and easily the most cinematic spot for photos. Insider tip: if you want to experience the trail without destroying your knees on the steep, rocky descent, hike up and take the cable car down. A one-way ticket is $17. You get the satisfaction of the climb, but a fast, breezy ride back to the city gates just as the light starts to soften. Evening, dinner at Restaurant Panorama. Catch the cable car to Restaurant Panorama for a dinner sitting 412 meters or 1,350 feet above the Adriatic. You're basically eating on the edge of a cliff with the entire old town and Elefiti Islands looking like a toy set below you. It's a massive flex of a view, and the price tag reflects that. Forget the generic stuff and go for the sea bass fillet with carrot and cauliflower cream if you want to keep it light. If you're actually hungry after all that walking, the slow-cooked lamb shank is the play. It's hearty, tender, and exactly what you want with a local glass of red wine. Expect to drop between $45 and $60 per person for a solid meal and a drink. Insider tip: if you want that front row sunset view, book a table at least a week out. Be annoying about it and specifically request a terrace edge table in your notes, or you'll likely get stuck behind a row of other people's heads. Day 2. Lokrum and beach time. Morning, Lokrum Island. Start your second day at the old port and jump on the ferry to Lokrum. This car-free island is only 600 meters or about 1,970 feet off the coast, but it feels like a different planet compared to the limestone crush of the old town. Since the island is a protected nature reserve, your $32 return ticket already covers your entry fee. Boats start running around 9 a.m., and the ride only takes 15 minutes. Once you step off the pier, wander the pine-scented trails and rocky swim spots without worrying about cars or massive crowds. The water here is ridiculously clear, and because the island is small, you can easily bounce between a quick hike and a long soak in the Adriatic. Portage Bay. Head straight to Portage Bay for your first stop on the island. You won't find a grain of sand here. Instead, you have massive limestone plates and stainless steel ladders that plunge you directly into deep, neon blue water. This setup is ideal if you actually want to swim rather than just stand around the shallows with the crowds. The rhythm here involves alternating between the cool salt water and baking on the sun-warmed rocks. If the heat gets too intense, duck back into the pine forest just 5 meters or 16 feet from the water's edge to cool off in the shade. You can easily lose a few hours here just watching the boats pass in the distance. Late morning, Benedictine Monastery and Iron Throne. Take a 5-minute walk inland to reach the Benedictine Monastery. These 11th century stone walls are the historic heart of the island, where the forest is slowly growing back over the old cloisters. The thick masonry keeps the interior significantly cooler than the shore, making it the perfect place to duck away from the sun for a bit. Inside the monastery complex, head to the visitor center to find the official Iron Throne. HBO left this massive prop here after filming, and you can sit on it for a quick photo for $0. It's a quick hit, so grab your shot and keep moving to the next spot on the list. Botanical Garden. Cut over from the monastery cloisters to the botanical garden to find a collection of 800 exotic species that have been growing here since 1859. You'll be surrounded by massive cacti reaching 4 meters or 13 feet high and thick palms that block out the sun. Since it's already included in your island entry, It's the quickest spot on Lokrum to catch a break from the salt and the heat while the peacocks wander past your feet. Afternoon, Dead Sea. Finish your time on the island at Mrtvo More, a small saltwater lake tucked inside a collapsed limestone cavern on the southern tip. An underground channel links this pool to an open sea, keeping the water crystal clear and dead calm. The high salt concentration makes you incredibly buoyant, so you can float with zero effort while looking up at the surrounding cliffs. You can leap off the low ledges for a quick rush, or use the stone steps for a slow entry. Since the lake is shielded by steep rock walls and pine trees, it stays peaceful even when the wind picks up on the coast. If you need a break, there's a small bar nearby where a cold drink costs about $7, but the real draw is simply drifting in the center of the pool. Insider tip. Walk around to the back side of the lake to find the path leading to the open sea cliffs. There's a massive natural stone arch called the Hole in the Wall, where you can watch the waves from the Adriatic crash against the outer rocks while you stay perfectly dry. Lunch at Trattoria Carmen. Once you step off the ferry and walk 5 minutes back into the heart of the old town, head to Trattoria Carmen. This family-run spot is tucked into a quiet alleyway near the aquarium, providing a shaded retreat from the afternoon heat. They focus on traditional Dalmatian flavors with the menu that changes based on what's fresh in the market. Order the tagliatelle with shrimps and truffles, or the octopus fritters for a lighter, salt-forward meal. If you're looking for a classic local dish, go for the pastizzata, which is slow-cooked beef stew served with handmade gnocchi. You should plan to spend between $25 and $35 per person for a main course and a drink. Late afternoon, Banje Beach. Walk 5 minutes from the restaurant toward the eastern side of the old town to reach Banje Beach. This is the spot to see the city's stone fortifications directly from the water. The beach is split into a free public section and a private club area filled with rows of cushioned sunbeds and umbrellas. If you choose the beach club side, expect to pay at least $65 for a set of 2 sunbeds and an umbrella. This section has a loud, high-energy atmosphere with lounge music and table service, while the public side allows you to simply throw down a towel for $0. For a quick snack or drink, a local beer costs about $8, and a standard pizza on the beach menu runs about $20. Insider tip. Keep some small change in your pocket for the public showers. They cost 50 cents for 30 seconds of water, and the machine only takes coins. Evening. Sunset and dinner at Banje Beach Restaurant. Stay at the beach as the sun sets to have dinner on the elevated terrace. You'll have a clear view across the water to the old town and Lokrum Island as the sky turns orange. This is when the venue shifts from the casual beach club into an open-air restaurant with a more formal atmosphere. The dinner menu is built around high-end Mediterranean dishes. For the best rated options on the current menu, order the Adriatic plate, which includes whitefish fillet, prawns, crispy octopus, and vongole in a white wine sauce. Another top choice is the tuna steak and sesame seeds, served with pea and carrot puree and wasabi. If you want a signature meat dish, go for the filet mignon marinated in Dalmatian herbs. Expect to pay between $35 and $45 for a main course, with a glass of local wine running around $12. Day 3. Island hopping. Morning. Elefiti Islands trip. Head to Grujport for a boat trip to the Elefiti Islands. You have 2 main options for this trip, a full-day tour that visits Kolocep, Lopud, and Shipan, or a half-day tour that typically focuses on the first 2. These islands are famous for clear water and quiet stone villages with almost no cars. Full-day tours usually last 8 hours, leaving around 9 a.m. and returning by 5 p.m. These include lunch on the boat and cost between $60 and $85 per person. If you're short on time, half-day tours last about 4 hours and cost between $45 and $70, and they skip lunch but still hit the best swimming spots like the Blue Cave and the Shun Beach. The schedule is built for relaxing. You'll spend the day cruising, jumping into the water for swims, and exploring small harbor towns. On the island of Lopud, you can visit Shun Beach, which is one of the only sandy beaches in the region. Late afternoon. Shetnica Walking Trail. Once you're back from the islands, head to the Lapad Peninsula to walk the Shenitsa Coastal Trail. This is a flat paved path that follows the edge of the sea, giving you open views of the water the entire way. It's an easy stroll rather than a hike, so you can move at whatever pace you like. As you walk, you'll pass several stone steps that lead directly down to the water if you want one last dip. There are also a few casual bars and cafes tucked into the rocks where you can stop for a quick drink. Evening, dinner and drinks at Cave Bar More. For your final night, head to Cave Bar More, located right along the Lapad coastal path. The bar is built inside a natural limestone cavern that was discovered during the hotel's construction. You can choose to sit deep inside the cave among the illuminated stalactites, or out on the multi-level stone terrace that sits just a few feet above the sea. The drinks menu feature a wide range of cocktails with prices averaging around $16 each, while a local beer is about $8. For dinner, the restaurant upstairs serves high-end Mediterranean dishes. The top-rated choice here is the slow-cooked beef cheek in a red wine reduction or the grilled Adriatic sea bass. For a main course and a cocktail in this setting, expect to pay between $45 and $60 per person. Useful info for spending 3 days in Dubrovnik. Best time to visit Dubrovnik. Aim for May to June or September to October. These months give you warm weather without peak summer crowds. Expect daytime temperatures around 20 to 28 degrees Celsius, which is about 68 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit, ideal for walking the old town and swimming. July and August get very busy and more expensive, with temperatures often above 30 degrees Celsius or 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Winter is much quieter, with temperatures around 10 to 15 degrees Celsius or 50 to 59 degrees Fahrenheit, but many beach activities and island tours won't be running. City airport tips. You'll land at Dubrovnik Airport, about 20 kilometers or 12 miles from the old town. The main option is the airport shuttle bus, which runs after most flights and takes around 30 to 40 minutes, costing about $10. Taxis and ride apps like Uber are available outside the terminal, with rides usually costing around $30 to $40 depending on traffic. If you want something simple, pre-book transfers are a smooth option and take you directly to your accommodation. Where to stay in Dubrovnik? Old Town is the most convenient base if you want everything within walking distance. You're right inside the historic center, close to all major sites, restaurants, and landmarks. Hotels here usually range between $150 and $350 per night. It's the most atmospheric area, but also the most expensive and crowded. Ploča is a strong alternative just outside the old town. You still get easy access on foot, plus the best views over the city and nearby beaches. Prices here are similar or slightly higher, usually between $180 and $400 per night, but the setting is more open and less hectic. Lapad is a better choice if you want more space and lower prices. It's a short bus ride from the old town with beaches, restaurants, and a more relaxed feel. Hotels here usually fall between $100 and $220 per night, making it a good balance between comfort and cost. How to get around Dubrovnik. Dubrovnik's old town is fully walkable, and most of your time there will be on foot. The streets are compact, but expect a lot of stairs and uneven surfaces, especially inside the historic center. For anything outside the old town, buses are the main option. A single ticket costs around $2, and a day pass is about $6, which is useful if you're moving between areas like Lapad and the old town. Ride apps like Uber operate across the city and are easy to use. Short rides usually cost between $10 and $20 depending on distance and traffic. Where to eat in Dubrovnik? Dubrovnik leans expensive, especially around the old town, but there are solid spots if you pick the right areas. For a reliable local experience, head toward the Konavle countryside and try Konoba Dubrava. This area is known for traditional cooking, especially peka, slow-cooked meat, or octopus with potatoes, usually around $35 to $45 per person. It's quieter and feels far more local than the center. If you want something refined, stay near the old town walls and book Restaurant 360. This is one of the top fine dining spots in Dubrovnik, focusing on modern Mediterranean seafood. Tasting menus start around $190 per person, and the setting is part of the experience. For a plant-based option, Head to the Gruj area and try Urban and Veggie Restaurant. They serve falafel bowls, veggie burgers, and fresh plates, with most meals between $12 and $18. That wraps up the ultimate 3-day itinerary for Dubrovnik. I hope this guide gave you everything you need to plan an unforgettable trip, and maybe even a few insider tips that'll make your experience even better. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone you'd love to explore Dubrovnik with. And if you're planning your trip, tell me in the comments what you're most excited to see.